And then there's the issue of qualifying in terms of receiving the application, reviewing the application, making the determination on who your most qualified applicant is. And I realize that individual owners / property managers may have different standards, but what do you do about applications to make sure that you're getting the best applicant and keeping a sense of consistency?
Well, definitely first off, think about what requirements you're going to want, because in terms of consistency, you want to make sure that you're across the board, the same requirements for every application you receive. For us at DD's, we have income requirements of 2.5 times the rent. We have a credit score requirement of 600 or above, and we also have tenancy and references in terms of landlord and employment for the past 5 years. So make sure you have the requirements that you want to have so that every individual who comes to apply will meet those requirements, or they won't, and you may need higher deposits or things they need to be changed because of, if they are less qualified than you would normally ask for.
Let's talk about for just a moment about red flags. Because we deal with credit reports, and any landlord, because you deal with credit reports, you fall under the issues associated with the laws that were recently passed about privacy, identity theft. And they're generically known as the red flag laws, or red flag rules. And what you or an owner has to do is cross-reference the information provided by your applicant and cross-reference against the information that you are objectively receiving from whatever your sources are. And in this case, for example, you run a credit report. You look at the credit report, you look at the application. Does the name match? Does the social security number match? Do the addresses that were listed on both, do they match? If they don't, you have an obligation to actually investigate and document. You don't necessarily have to be able to answer the questions. That's the applicant's responsibility. But you have to investigate, and you have to keep track of those instances when it rises. And that is a federal law at this point, and it is very important for owners and those handling application processes. It's very important for you to actually do and comply with, because it is law, and there are penalties, there are damages for not doing it and doing it properly.
And just to add a note to that, and it can definitely be something as very simple as you were, as a tenant, out for a month, in another country, or you had your mail sent to your parents' house or to your friend's house just for a moment, and that does automatically can come up on credit reports. So just so you know, as a tenant, if you're going to apply and you let the owners know, I was out of the country for a couple months, or I was using a P.O. box for a certain amount of time, or I had my mail sent to my friend's or my family's house, just letting them know up front so they already have the information in front of them, because it can be definitely something as simple as that.
Touching base on credit reports, and this is from the perspective of property owners, landlords. Always run your own, always obtain your own credit reports. While tenants as a whole are trustworthy, the fact is, if an applicant comes to you and says, hi, I'm interested in your property, here's my credit report, and they hand it to you and that's the only one you work from, the fact is that could have been altered. Is it likely? Maybe not, but it's your responsibility as the owner, as the landlord, as the person making the decision, to be able to get objective facts and not simply rely only upon information that's provided by a tenant, because you have due diligence to make sure that the facts are accurate before they move into your property.
And definitely use some type of eviction database so that you're also able to track if they have been evicted in the past. Evictions, and I believe this is correct, 7 years is how typical they last in terms of on a credit report.
That's most everything that you'll find on credit reports. Is that there's a 7-year lifespan, and then it will spin off.
Yes, definitely. If you're able to add that even on a part of your applications, have they ever been evicted, or have they ever had an eviction started upon them? Something just to open the box of dialogue. For example, we've had people apply that had evictions 20 years ago. I mean, just so they're open and honest with us. We may not have found it on the credit report, but to have that open and honest dialogue, because
you ought to be able to have a good, solid relationship with your tenant and have a happy happy relationship for a long time. On behalf of CC Rosas, I'm Keith Becker from Denny's Rentals.